The U.S. wants Canada to be the 51st state. Canada been our closest friend, our closest trade partner, just north of us, faces some potential threats. For one, President Trump has made it extremely clear that he wants Canada to be the 51st United States state, even calling Trudeau, Governor Trudeau, a slap in the face. Most of the citizens of both countries have brushed off this threat as just mere rumors. However, I think there's something that should be taken seriously. During his address to Canada, Trudeau began to tear up. If this was just a rumor and something not to be taken seriously, you wouldn't see his eyes swell up with tears. This is a serious threat and he knows it. As a matter of fact, the leadership of both nations, they know it and they've known it for years. The United States will not collapse as long as Canada is north of us. Canada has too many resources for us to just collapse. And Canada even knows that if we collapse, they'll collapse just as bad or even worse. Those resources in Canada are there for the taking. And we've both accepted that that's the case. The US doesn't want to annex Canada by military force. We want to annex them by economic force. It makes sense. This is known to everybody except for the general public. It reminds me of Training Day when Denzel's character was busting through a major drug dealer's house named Roger. And Roger knew what was going to happen, and so did Denzel's character. So when Denzel's character killed Roger, it seemed like it was a surprise to most, but they both knew what was going to happen. They were just going through the motions. And this symbolizes the current and the future scenario with Canada. They've known this for probably centuries, that if something goes bad, that they were going to fall as well. Trump has implemented these tariffs under the guise of the restricting of fentanyl from entering in the United States. However, this is not the case. As a whole, about 22,000 pounds of fentanyl enters the United States from the north and south. Well, from the north, it was only about 43 pounds that was seized. From the south, it was well over 21,000. So as you see, only about 0.2% that was seized from the north, and the remainder, for the most part, was seized from the south. So it's clear that fentanyl is not the problem. There's other reasons why we want to put these tariffs on Canada. And their leadership has made it clear. It is not because of fentanyl. It's because of an economic issue. Economic issue that's going to lead to the annexation of Canada. There is a serious trade imbalance between the United States and Canada and Mexico. For example, based on my notes, 76% of Canada's exports go to the United States. That represents about 18% of Canada's GDP. In addition, 78% of Mexico's export go to the United States. That represents about 30% of their GDP. On the other hand, 17% of the United States' exports go to Canada, and about 16% of the exports go to Mexico, only making up 2% of the United States GDP. We also saw that Canada implemented 25% retaliatory tariffs on US goods. But let's be honest here, tariffs will hurt Canada and Mexico far worse. It reminds me of an elderly couple that have been together for, let's say, for a half a century. And when one dies, the other one usually dies shortly after. It's because they have dedicated so much energy into that one person and or country. For example, When the USSR fell, guess who was hit the most? It was Cuba, the person who alienated themselves from everyone else in their vicinity. As they say, when the United States coughs, the world catches a cold. And this is the case right now. Canada knows that it's in their best interest to become a 51st state. Therefore, I believe that their sovereignty days are numbered.